Right, hello everybody. It is Friday, the 25th of March, and it feels like a Saturday because it's Good Friday, and it's been a very good Friday because I've not been at work. Woohoo! The weather's been quite nice, so I've enjoyed a rather pleasant day at the beach with my wife and two kids. We had fish and chips on the sand, and we built a couple of sandcastles, and we wasted money on grabbing machines and 2p pushers and things like that, and it was a very pleasant afternoon altogether. So I shall do a couple tonight and have a bit of a rest tomorrow, and make most of the weekend. So we finished off the 4 remarkable regional malts from Douglas Lang, and unfortunately, as I was editing the Big Pete video with a view of uploading tonight, I realised pretty much throughout the whole video I was talking nonsense, was getting everything completely wrong. So for that, I apologise to Douglas Lang for saying that they didn't say what was in there in that particular blended malt, even though the other 3 had all said what was in it, and the Big Pete actually said on the label of the bottle itself. It was only when I was going through the editing process and put the picture of the bottle up to go on screen and went, oh crap, it says it's got Ardbeg and Port Ellen and Kalila Ravoma, and right, I better do something about that. So that was why, if you did watch the Big Pete review, I had to put that little notice up halfway through to go, yeah, I'm talking nonsense. And then I turned around and said that the host of Whisky Cast, who had given me an interview really kindly the night before, was called Mike Gillespie and not Mark Gillespie. So Mark, if you're watching, I do apologise for that. So it's earlier. I'm not feeling as tired. So hopefully I'll be able to do the 2 that I'm going to do tonight justice as it deserves. And these aren't from Douglas Lang. These are actually from a company called Weymss Malts. Now it's spelt like this, W-E-M-Y-S-S, so you might think it's Weymss or Weymss or something like that. Weems is actually Gaelic for caves, and the Weems Castle, which is where the Weems family live, is here. It's on the opposite side of the Firth Forth to Edinburgh and a bit further up, and Weems, there's a lot of caves around that kind of rocky outcrop, so that's where that word comes from, and the surname of the family. So the Weems family have been living in Weems Castle since the 1300s, and in 2005 William Weems set up Weymss Malts, which was a company basically to look at bottling whiskies. The grounds are actually used by several distillers for the barley, and the Cameron Bridge, which is a grain distillery, is only just down the road, so they already have quite close ties with the whisky industry as a whole. And I came across this at the Newcastle Whisky Festival, the stand where I was at helping out on. Next to us was Laura and Erik Burgess, I'm going to say is their surname, Burgess, I think. This is a picture of the 2 of them. Now, I'm assuming they're married, because she is definitely Scottish and he is from New Zealand. He is actually on Twitter as @thewhiskeykiwi, and he does a lot of work not only for Weems Malts but also for New Zealand whiskey, and does a lot of tastings with those whiskies as well. So I'm assuming they're married and not like brother and sister or related or something like that. Having said that, when my next door neighbour provided some malts, some whiskies, and I said that it was actually her husband, it turns out they're not married. So I'm treading very carefully by saying I'm assuming that they're married, but that might not necessarily be the case, and I'm hoping that either one of them will put me straight one way or the other. So they really kindly donated 3 drams. All 3 are interesting. The 3rd I'm really looking forward to, but that's going to be the next time I do a round. So I have from them a blended malt, which is basically where the bulk of their output is. And then their new project, shall we say, to come as the 3rd. So we'll start with the blend, and this is called Lord Elcho. This is what it looks like if you were to find it. Now the one thing I've not done is check the price. Bugger, that was a bit daft of me. I will have a quick look while I'm talking, because there's a bit of a backstory towards Lord Elcho, and I keep wanting to say Lord Echo, and that's not the case, it's Lord Elcho. Now Lord Elcho was the eldest son of the 5th Earl of Weems, and he was a supporter of Bonnie Prince Charlie, who, if you know Scottish history, which I don't really, so I've had to do a bit of research on it, but Bonnie Prince Charlie is also known as the Young Pretender, and he was basically a leader of the Jacobite Revolution, or the attempted Jacobite Revolution, to reclaim the throne of the UK, of kind of like England, Scotland, and Wales. So Lord Elcho was a supporter of Bonnie Prince Charlie, and due to his bravery at the Battle of Prestonpans in 1745, he was actually appointed as colonel of the Prince's Lifeguards. Unfortunately, in the following year at the Battle of Culloden, Bonnie Prince Charlie was pretty heavily defeated, and essentially that was the end of his uprising. And as a result of that, Lord Elcho was stripped of his titles and sent into exile, so he was never allowed to go back to Scotland. And essentially, the links to Weems obviously is, he's part of the family, and they're treating this part of his history as like noble heritage, and although he was on the losing side, actually he stood up for what he believed in. So it's quite an interesting backstory to it. It's a blended whiskey, and I've just checked up the price now. Master of Malt is selling it for $52.45. And you might think that's quite steep for a blend, but according to the bump, if I can actually open the damn thing, that's better. Don't do that with your teeth, it's not a good idea. According to the bump, the youngest whiskies in this, and it might even be the grain, because it didn't differentiate in the official press release in terms of whether it was the grain as well. So it's possible that the grain, but certainly the malts that are in it are a minimum of 15 years old. A minimum, so that's pretty decent aging. That's a fairly decent age to start from, with potentially some older malts in there as well. So it's also 40% malt in the blend as well. It's a minimum of 40% malt, so you've got quite high malt content. So in here there is some good stuff. Now, don't know where those malts are from. I'm fairly confident saying that with this, and certainly with the next one, is they are definitely not saying where those malts are from. Unlike the one that I did yesterday, where it says it on the label. These don't say on the label, and I couldn't find anything on the internet, so I'm assuming that they definitely aren't. So there's a lovely honey note to this already. Very syrupy, but very pleasant. A touch of the grains coming through. There's that little edginess of grain whiskey coming through there, but it supports it really, really well. Now it's 40%, so it's the lowest percentage, a standard percentage. But yeah, not harsh, quite smooth, just a nice little edginess of grain whiskey that's just lifting all those sort of soft honeyed flavours that are there. Not too much smokiness on it, to be perfectly honest. If there is any, it's very, very, very gentle. Wow, that's surprisingly good. There's a really good balance. It starts off quite, not flat, but there's not a great deal as it goes straight into your mouth. And then all of a sudden it grows. It kind of expands in terms of, there's sort of rich honey, kind of, but gentle honey, kind of, is it Manuka honey? That kind of lighter style. And it's a lovely mouthfeel in it. There's a lot of depth. There's a slight fragrance to it as well. There's a slight honeysuckly kind of honeysuckle, spring flowers, that sort of feel. There is a really delicate fragrance to it. I got quite surprised about that. And then the grain whiskey, the grain sort of edginess, that not metallic-y, but the difficult to say. It's a, without saying edginess yet again, but there is this sharpness that's pleasant. It's not overpowering. It's not unpleasant at all. It's just a sharpness to it that just rounds everything off. Lovely finish as well. You can definitely tell there's some older whiskies in here. There's nothing rough about this whatsoever. There's no harshness to it. Like I say, there's this little bit of sharpness, but it actually balances it really well. There's a really, really strong honey character to this as well. But like I say, it's not a dark honey. It's or brown sugar or anything like that. It's much more delicate, and there is a definite fragrance to it, a definite kind of jasmine-y, honeysuckly, light touch to it. Very, very pleasant indeed. You could almost say it's a summer whiskey. It's got that delicate feel to it that more of a spring summer's day, something like that will go down really well. Very, very good indeed. Like I say, Master and Malt are selling it for 50 quid, and I don't think it says on the label either, not that I can see, certainly not on the picture that I've got. I don't think it says it's 15-year-old, and I'm just wondering whether at that price, not having the age statement on it might actually do it a disservice. I'm almost of the opinion that if potential customers know that that's the lowest age of it, there is more justification for charging slightly higher for it. Now, I could be wrong, and I probably am, because I normally are. And it's entirely possible that when I put the bottle up on screen, I find out that it does actually say 15-year-old on the label. But this pamphlet that I got from Erik isn't showing it, and you could look at that and just go, it's a blended whiskey for about 45 quid. That seems quite expensive. Whereas if it had that age statement on it, that probably would offset the increased price. In terms of the quality of the whiskey itself, yeah, worth it. It's a very, very good blended whiskey indeed. Real complexity in there, lovely delicate notes to it. Like I say, a spring summer whiskey, very, very much so indeed. Very pleasant. I'm going to rinse everything out and we shall do another one. See you in the next one.